everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Culture to Christ podcast. We are your hosts, Alex and Aaron. Thank you guys for joining us today. If you're new, make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, like it, leave a comment, any questions you guys have. Also, leave a review on the Apple Podcasts and subscribe on Apple Podcasts as well. You guys can hear us on Spotify. Coming soon, too. Today, we are going to get into the topic and the concept of time in your guys' lifestyle, at your workplace, with your family, with your passions, how you perceive it in your mind, how we were trained at a young age to structure our lives around time. And hopefully today you guys will grab some tools and to make your lifestyle more fitting and more growth in your life in the time that makes you feel best. Before we get into that, the Dallas Stars, they win in overtime, Game 7. It's a big win. You know, family member Cogliano on Dallas didn't play that game because he got injured blocking a shot because it's in the bloodline of blocking shots. So it feels good beating the Colorado Avalanche. Did you watch that full game?
Yeah, I watched the full game.
And that series
crazy.
Has been, the entire time.
Colorado, they had the lead with 3 minutes to go, and then 15 seconds later, the Dallas Stars tie it with the replacement of your cousin. Got a hat trick.
So
and
he's not playing. He's not playing ever again. Keep that guy. Is he Russian? That guy?
Finnish.
He's a Finnish player
from Finland.
But
he's good. The guy's fast.
Dallas Stars have some random players, random Finnish.
Guryanov, Russian.
He's Russian.
Yeah.
You know what's good?
Heiskanen, the defenseman. Remember
and he's a Finnish guy.
Yeah.
They have a lot of unique players. You see that a lot of the best teams in hockey, it's always about drafting. It's never about the free agent signing.
You can't. You overpay.
You overpay, and you get upset a lot. We talk about with the Leafs. And you and I came up with an analogy about the Toronto Maple Leafs and how they should be called the Toronto Maple Trees, because a tree is sturdy, it's grounded, it doesn't move, where a leaf just goes with the season, bro. It flows in the wind, it's not strong, and it goes to show when you just hope for dreams, you pay these players that are big names.
Your analytics.
And
all
your
that shit
stats.
doesn't work, man.
We'll get into the analytics of time as well and how that shit doesn't really work. Everyone's trying to compute and fix the algorithm of life to fit your life, right? Everyone's trying to, if I track here, I get all this done, I'll have all this control, I'll get all the success, and my life will be peaceful, have love in my life, I'll be relaxed, right? And also, too, we go into our NBA picks and our NBA teams. Both our picks right now are going through. Our picks are playing each other, Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers. It's good. I'm glad that my NBA picks went well because my NHL picks were dog shit. Even people are asking me, how did you pick those teams?
But so NHL is a lot harder to call than NBA because in NHL, you've seen 8 seeds win the cup. In NBA, that never happens.
Yes.
An 8 seed in the NBA has never won the chip, Because there's not as much parity. So, if you don't have a superstar like Kawhi, you don't have LeBron, these type of guys, winning a chip, it likely is not going to happen. But in hockey, you don't have to have the best Look at the best superstars, Crosby, McDavid, Ovechkin. Yeah, all these guys are all out. You need, it's a different game. There's a lot more role players and intangibles in hockey than there is in ball.
And who's the baller on the Denver Nuggets, the Canadian guy?
Jamal Murray.
And he's playing like crazy. He's playing super hard. He's playing with a serious purpose, with those, we pray for the ones that they lost their lives throughout the shootings and stuff in America. He wears them on their shoes. He had a good post-game interview about that and why he plays. And, you can see the passion and the heart he carries,
Plays like a Canadian.
Plays like a Canadian boy, man. He has the fight. He doesn't take... I don't watch too many games. I watched a little bit of their Game 7, but, no flopping and stuff like that. You play hard. You want to win. And talking about the NBA and NHL, they're different sports. Even we're talking about the Toronto Raptors, how we picked those teams to go far. And, that shot last night.
Crazy.
I was at the gym working out. I'm looking at I'm like, oh, here we go. They're going to lose, go down 3-0, and that's it. Back to the series of Toronto Raptors doing so well in the regular season. First place, second place, right? When they had DeRozan, they go in the playoffs, and there's no one to be seen. There's no go-to guy like last year. You had all these good role players, and you had Kawhi. So you had that star being like, I'll shut shit down.
Well, people thought Siakam was going to be that guy because regular season he was dominating, but in playoffs, it's a different game.
It's a different you have to have a different your brain and your fire, and you have to have that clutch gene in your body, and not many
Can't
players.
learn that.
You cannot learn that clutch gene, man. Like you cannot. That even last year when the Kawhi hit that game-winning shot against Philadelphia, and I was kind of barely watching. I'm like, yeah, I'll watch the Raptors in the playoffs. I'm a fan when they're doing well, kind of thing. And when I saw him hit that, I was like, man, I think this can go far. Like that was that shot where you're just like, okay, like we could.
That's the type of shot that in Toronto sports history we never get that bounce. It always goes against us, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always like a blown lead, or someone like messes up. It's never like we get the hockey god or like the basketball gods being like, this is for you guys.
So yeah, now we're seeing like maybe it's trending because of that shot OG hit, and you can talk about how the player that got brought in for that small scenario.
Yeah, Taco Fall 7-footer. He sat the whole game, only got called upon to, block the inbound, and Lowry Hail Marys it over a 7-footer right to Anunoby. And like they interviewed him after, and he was just like so pissed. He's like, I tried to block it. Like he can only talk about one play of the game because that's all he was in for. So like
the amount of playing time, he played 0.5 seconds, and the whole team hates him.
The whole city. Imagine you're a Boston fan.
Oh, and Boston fans are hard, man.
Imagine you had serious money on them too.
Oh my goodness, man. Like there's a lot of lives were lost probably from after that game, man. Like all the gambling debts people go into.
0.5, you lose on that.
All the Serb money that people are betting on. like, man, you go in for 0.5 seconds. The team's relying on you. Just block a pass or make it difficult.
You had one job, right?
Dude, 0.5 seconds.
And you're 7 feet. Like if you're 7 feet, Richie, I know you're blocking that. Like
you
block fucking little pucks with your face. You're blocking that basketball.
I'm catching that basketball.
Yeah.
I'm catching it, eating it for breakfast.
You're putting your head there.
Like I'm thinking, if I can do this, I might get 1 second playing time next game. I'll get 1.5 seconds because right now he didn't play at all, right?
No.
So he's thinking, man, okay, I'm nervous as heck. I haven't been in this game all series, and now I'm going in the most clutch moment. Like we can go 3 games to none, right? I'm 7 feet tall. Like I'm in the NBA. He's probably in the NBA because he's that tall.
That's why he is.
He's massively tall, right?
Yeah.
And he's just he doesn't even have to completely block the pass. He has to make it difficult. So like if the guy catches it, he can't shoot it in time. 0.5 seconds.
But even they asked Lowry about the inbound, and he's like, it was so. I couldn't see, so I launched it and it went over him. But obviously, I think it was a set play. But him saying that because the guy's 7 foot, like you literally can't see over a guy like that. Lowry's smaller too, so it's amazing how God works.
Yeah.
I would say how God works if I had money on the Raptors.
Yeah, you'd be like, yes, the NBA gods are with me, bro. The NBA gods. And like even I looked at OG shooting it, and no one looked like he caught it, and was just like he just had to let it go. And his mood after, he was just stale. I love he didn't go crazy, he didn't celebrate.
So the Kawhi rubbed off on him?
Maybe the Kawhi. He's just like, I don't shoot to miss. That's what he said. Like, why should I be like surprised or pumped?
That's amazing, man.
Right, and that's good to see. I'm like, okay, OG, then you better be bringing next game.
Because that's how Kawhi would be if he hit a shot like that.
Hit those shots, man. You better be winning a series. You're so sure you're hitting shots. That's a big claim.
Yeah.
You're so chill. You're so calm. I'm hoping to see that maybe next game, right? And growing into that. And we talk about like Toronto fans and how in Toronto, a lot of us aren't even GTA, Greater Toronto Area. We're not really extreme fans. We're more like if it's trending, if the team's doing well, right?
Only Leaf fans, I'd say, are the most hardcore.
Yeah.
Because Leaf fans, we've endured so much pain, agony, disappointment, where it's like we know what it's like to, lose a 3-1 lead in the third period when you think your team's going to win, or even what happened, like how when the Leafs came back with 3 minutes left to tie it, and then you get smoked in Game 5. It's just like we've endured so much. Like I know there's real Leaf fans that will ride with the team whether they win or lose.
And we know those guys personally. Like Leaf fans talk like they own part of the team, right? They always say, we got to do this. Why do we sign him? I'm always like, bro, you don't have any ownership with the team. Stop saying we and us, but that's Leaf fans, right? And there's so much history. Like the team's been around for over 100 years. So you have generations of generations of generations. Like I'm a Leaf fan because I grew up as a baby. That's all we'd be watching. So like Leafs were like, when they lost to Philadelphia, Jeremy Roenick, I was crying,
series.
Man. I was crying because our team was good before the lockout. Matt Sundin, Alexander McGinley, why I wear at number 89.
Roberts,
Tucker. Brian Leach, Shane Corson, Ty Domi. Like we had Ed Belfour. We had so many names. So like we were always a good team, right?
That was the best Leafs team.
Oh, and it's always been dog shit ever since. Even today, and The Leafs, you and I are hockey guys. We talk about this all the time. We'll get into it just for a little bit. The Leafs are just not a hockey team. They're not a hockey team. They don't play. You build a hockey team to win the Stanley Cup. The reason people are going to watch the games is because eventually they want to see the team raise the Stanley Cup. You pay millions of dollars because these guys are the best. The Toronto Maple Leafs are the biggest hockey team organization in the NHL. That's why the tickets are so expensive. How much are the tickets that you pay for like decent seats?
You need to spend at least $200.
Yeah, $200.
And that's for like not even the good games.
That's beginning. That's beginning of regular season. Imagine going into the playoffs and then playoffs, etc. You're getting into $500 to thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Right? And the team is completely just not structured based on hockey, based on the game of hockey. It's a physical sport. It takes role players. It takes systems. It takes simple playing. And because we're trending and we want things to be young, and we hired Kyle Dubas for the analytics.
Kyle Dubas,
who has never played a game in the NHL, but yet knows exactly based on looking at a stat sheet what we need to do to win a cup.
He's trying to outspend the problems of the team, which you can't do that. It doesn't matter how much money you spend, right? It's the intangibles.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just decide, oh, this guy, he's a $10 million player. I'm gonna put him alongside an $11 million player. I'm gonna spend $12 million here. It's like the money doesn't solve like the actual issues of the team, right? Which is the grit, the toughness, the things that win you playoff series.
The desire to win.
Yeah.
Because when I have desire, I want to get that contract. You gave players contracts who didn't earn it. If you give a guy $11 million contract, what is he pushing for, really? He has his money. Like, why does he want to go block that shot, go fight that guy, go do these things if he's now comfortable? He has a 7-year contract, 5-year contract. He knows he's staying. He has his money.
He hasn't won anything.
What's the desire, right?
Yeah.
And also you look at, too, of course we know Canadians want to win the Cup. Teams that are built around Canadian players are the ones that constantly win the Stanley Cup. You look at the last teams, St. Louis, Washington. These guys have a lot of Canadians, mostly are Canadian, and also earn their contracts. Like Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, they won, 3 Stanley Cups. They earn their contracts after they won Stanley Cups.
And guys like Crosby take pay cuts.
And they take pay cuts.
You take pay cuts so you can allocate more money to different areas where you need improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at the Leafs, like you have all the forwards. Where's your defense at? Right?
You got a forward, Tyson Barrie, on our back end. Right? And it just goes to show, like, he was benefiting off McKinnon and all those guys, right? Like, he wasn't that great. And we gave away our grit. We gave him Kadri. We gave him the grit.
Look at Kadri, 9 goals this playoffs.
Did
more
well.
Than he's had in his entire career as a Maple Leaf.
Mm-hmm. And your joke that you and I do is, like, if you go play with the Leafs, players want to go sign with the Leafs so they can leave and go win a cup. So many players have done that. Kessel's done that. Bozak's done that. Gunnarsson.
Yeah.
There's so many different players.
Kessel just didn't do it once. He did it twice.
He did it twice, right? So yeah, like we in the Toronto market, GTA, like, fans in hockey, they're dying for the Leafs, to get it together. You got to get rid of Dubas. You got to get Shanahan to take over, because really we traded John Tavares for Lou Lamoriello and Trotz, right? We could have maybe gotten Trotz. But
Matt
we traded
Komarov. He scored again last night, by the way. I'm not sure if you saw that.
Who, Matt Martin?
Yeah. Scored again.
How are they doing? Are they still
it's
in?
Game 7 tomorrow.
Game 7
they were
tomorrow.
So every team was up 3-1, and they all moved to Game 7.
That's
so
more
all
exciting.
the leads were blown, right?
Wow.
It's crazy.
But yeah, so we talk about the fans. Like, for me, I went to the parade last year when the Toronto Raptors, they won, and I'm like, you know what? First time for anything. Like, I'm not going to see this again. I personally didn't think they're going to win another NBA championship. They might have a chance now with that miraculous comeback win, right? Come on, Taco. Good thing I didn't put any money on that game, right? And imagine you put money on that game.
Oh my God, I wouldn't be here right now. You wouldn't see me.
Aaron would be in jail. He had committed murder. He would have hurt somebody.
There's no way I could sit here and talk about that.
Wow. Imagine.
That's what lost me the money, 0.5. Oh,
imagine that.
God. That's insane.
So, yeah, so when I went to the parade last year, I remember standing there, and just feeling like I'm looking around. Like, even talked about COVID, like that looked like the apocalypse for me. Seeing like millions of people. I'm like, I thought to myself, I got so anxious. I'm like, man, something is going to happen. Like, if you put 1 million people in one place and have them stand around for 8 hours.
And it did, right? Wasn't there a shooting?
There was a shooting right behind me.
So you called it.
I was so anxious. I'm like, I'm standing like this. I'm like, I can't go anywhere. I'm looking around. I'm standing for 7 hours because their bus was taking forever, bro. I'm like, I'm an idiot. I'm actually an idiot standing here for 7 hours looking at a stage full of nothing and just randomness and people yelling, fighting each other. Everyone's trying to shift, get positions to get closer. It's like,
There's
dude,
a million people.
bro, there's a million.
Getting
You
closer.
touch Kawhi's leg, right? You want to touch his New Balance shoes? Like, I'm just stuck. And like, you hear all this commotion. And I was in front of the Toronto letters. You know those big Toronto letters? I was in front of them. So I look behind me, and all of a sudden you hear this screaming. And people are looking. It's almost like a zoo released a bunch of wild animals and just trampled over each other. I saw hundreds of people just trample and run like crazy. A grandma got stuck underneath the gate. She got trampled because someone came, right? There was a shooting, right? And I saw all these army men, all these SWAT guys like ready, right? They got the guy in like 10, 20 minutes. Like, it was locked down, right? But just being there, I was like, man. Like,
leave it to Toronto to, have a shooting at like our greatest parade in Canadian history. Right?
Yeah. And I'm just like, how long it took me. And you see a shooting, you think you're gonna run.
Yeah.
Second I try to move, I'm stuck. I had to walk slowly for an hour. It took me to get out of all the people for an hour, anxious, being like, man, am I gonna see another stabbing? Am I gonna see another shooting? Like, yeah, that was wild. So I felt like I fell into the fandom, right? The Toronto fandom of all that stuff.
But you had to experience it because who knows, you might not ever see
a
it
shooting again. I might never be involved in the shooting again, right? Holy cow. I was honestly so anxious, bro. I'm like, wow, I'm stuck. I can't move. Like, I'm around all these people. Like, when I was walking away and trying to just go home, 'cause I'm like, I can't deal with this stuff. Like, I'm just garbage everywhere, people everywhere. I'm like, yo, that's what the apocalypse looks like. It literally it was crazy. Anyways, what a time. And speaking of time, we're going to get into the concept of time. And you guys in your lifestyle, what you do with your time. Is it your time? Are you giving it to someone else, to another organization? Have you been so socially constructed through the school system, through your workplace, that you no longer see what you're doing with your time? Is time even real? Do we want to rely on so many different things to guide us, or can we take a bit more control of our life to build a lifestyle that Aaron and I are talking about? The culture to Christ, adding in some principles and some tools for you guys to build that lifestyle around time and to make you even maybe think a bit differently. So Aaron, I'll let you start with the concept and the idea of time.
So I like how you said, is time even real, right? When the first man walked this earth, right? The first people walked through, there was no such thing as time. Time didn't exist. There were no calendars. All of these concepts of, of months, of days, of years, that never existed. So the way I like to look at it is, if time didn't exist, how would you go about living your life, right? What would you prioritize? Who would you prioritize? And, since a young age, right, since elementary school, all of us have been put in this box where, you have to wake up for school. You're in school from 8 to 3. After that, you go into high school. You're told that, once you're grade 11, you got to start thinking about what you're going to be doing in university. You're not given a lot of time, but that that's the degree you're going to have to commit to for 4 years, right? So it's always like I felt, especially as a kid and as a student, that time was working against me, right? I had to make quick decisions that were going to impact my life. So how does that translate to today? Today, once you look at time, you got to ask yourself, who are you giving your time to, right? And are you using your time for yourself, or using it for someone else, right? To build what they want you to be a part of. And I think that a lot of people, they would approach their lives differently if time didn't exist. Because if you woke up and you didn't have an alarm clock, right? I think everyone would be pursuing things they actually love to do. Their God-given abilities, their God-given talents to, become not just your own boss, but the creator of your own lifestyle. Because that's bigger to me than just people saying that, oh, I work this job because, that's giving me security, and that's giving me, an environment where, I like it, like I'm comfortable there. And that goes down to the idea of comfort that we talked about before. But when you look at time, you think about, who am I giving my time? Who am I spending it with, right? Because we all don't know when is our time going to come to an end. Like, look at Chadwick, right? 42, never told anybody about what he was dealing with, but I'm sure his value of time was a lot, and his concept of time was a lot different than someone who wasn't in Hollywood battling cancer. He probably felt that Black Panther movie, I had to get that out because that's going to create a difference and impact, the Black community, and I can be the face of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what are you putting your time towards? Is the time becoming your constraint, or is your time allowing you to pursue the things that God blessed you with, and the people that God blessed you with? Like, I can tell you right now that whether time existed or not, I would still feel genuinely happy and motivated to do this podcast with you, because I know that this is not something that, like, when I know that I'm going to do a podcast with you, it's not something where I'm like, fuck, I gotta go record this. It's like, I look forward to doing this. And that's what we should be doing with everything. If you're doing a job that you hate doing, like you can't stand going there, first of all, there's a lot of other jobs, and you have God-given ability, God-given talents, that job it shouldn't put you in that box where you're like, you feel that, who am I living for?
And you're absolutely right in terms of, once you value, we talked about value last episode, when you value yourself, you value doing good things, God knows your worth, and your time is so limited. You talked about Chadwick Boseman. Look at the impact he left on this world. You know how many lives this person he's still changing lives to this day based on the efforts he imposed on people. He kept his sickness, his illness between him and his close ones and God, because he wanted people to see the good, to see him striving for something big, to put out the biggest Marvel movie of all time, Black Panther, and what it did for young Black kids looking up like, wow, look at that guy. Look at him. Look how he leads his life. He honors God. He talks about God in his graduation speech we shared last episode. How God led his life. God gave him the ability to say, don't do that. Don't do that with your time. Say no to that. Avoid using your time for something else that's not God ordained. That's for somebody else's business. Using you as a tool to grow their business. Because when you know your employer doesn't value you as much as God does, your employer will just see you as, you better show up when your time that you punch in, punch out. Do your job when you punch in, punch out. I don't care what you do elsewise. So you see the impact of someone who had colon cancer for 4 years. You never heard one thing about it. I bet you he made sure no one even saw him sick, saw him weak, saw him vulnerable. Doing movies, acting, stunts, training with colon cancer, and the impacts he does at speeches, so many things where it motivates me to come here with that purpose of valuing time. Time is so short. Time is so limited. You don't have all the time in the world, and you should not be spending that time. That's why we want you guys and girls to think about how you're spending your time. You think you have forever, and you do not. When you wake up, this could be your only last day. You need to take that seriously. When you wake up, this could be your last day. If it was your last day when you wake up, are you happy with how you're spending your time? Are you good at that 9-to-5 job in your cubicle, driving in your box to get to a box, to eat from a box carton, to do the same thing every single day? Are you stuck and you're benefiting, and you think you're benefiting from maybe the comfort of it, when really it's a trap? And Aaron, let's get into kind of your experience in how you can share your thought, and then we'll get into the experience of.
So I was just gonna say that when you say, like, because we don't know when our time is gonna come to an end, right? We obviously all know that, and that it's one thing to say that; it's another thing to actually live that, right? Mm-hmm. Like we know, like everyone says, live your life to the fullest. You don't know when your time's gonna come to an end, but what does that truly mean? Like, everyone interprets that a different way. Some people say that, live your life to the fullest. Like, I'm gonna party hard. Like I don't care. Like, I don't have an actual purpose and meaning. So it can go both ways. Like, you live your life to the fullest. Some people take that to the extreme. Like, I'm gonna do whatever. I'm gonna hurt my own body because it doesn't matter because I'm gonna die anyways. So, like, I like to think of it as living your life to the fullest means pursuing your purpose in a way that not just helps you, because you got to be thinking of your loved ones that look to you for, not only motivation, but for maybe without you, your family wouldn't be able to survive. You provide for your family. So it's not just a self-centered thing where it's like, I got to live my life to the max, right? You got to be thinking, I think broader. I think that
big picture.
Who am I impacting? Who am I influencing? So living my life to the fullest means, am I doing the things that I know I should be pursuing, that with the people that God blessed me with the talents that He's blessed me with, and just thinking about how when someone invented time, what was the purpose of that? Of someone giving us 24 hours in a day and calendars and months. That was all a form of control. So the 24-hour clock, right, back in the day, because I did research on it, it was used in ancient times. So slaves can tell so masters can control their slaves of how long these guys have been working, when they should be resting, and that's what time was originally used for. So once you understand that, you'll understand that it still translates to how we operate as a world to today. Because why do they work 9 to 5? Because that's the standard. That's society's standard of a working day schedule, right? Why out of 365 days a year, how come you're only allowed so many days for vacation? Who controls that? So all of these organizations or businesses or corporations that that go by this so-called schedule of timing, of dates, of calendars, you have to understand that that's their ideal, and that's their idea of how life should be lived. That wasn't how God created us to live. Because when He put you on this earth, He never said you have to work 9 to 5. He never said, you should be in school for 4 years. You should be doing this, right? After 10 years in a company, you can be promoted for a manager, to become a vice president. That was never the intention of mankind, right? This is all just passed on from generation to generation. Where now today, fast forward to 2020, it's so ingrained in society. So when something like COVID happens, right, that fucks up everything, that ruins people's routine of like, oh, now 9 to 5, I can actually work from home. Some people see it, oh, it's a benefit now. That could have been the benefit from the start. You never had to go to the office before. Who's to say you had to work at that job, or you had to, go to school? People now, all of these students who, they went to school for 3 or 4 years, or let's say they're living on campus. Now they don't have to live on campus. Now the school system tells them you can do online courses, but guess what? You're going to pay us the same amount of money. You're not going to get the social aspect, but you'll still learn the same thing, and we'll still be collecting checks. It's like everything is. Because you and I, we talk about this shit all the time. It's not really news to us, but there's people who, they're so trapped in this mindset.
They're stuck.
And it's because of time. Time is the thing that constrains everything.
Mm-hmm. You're right. It's a fixated tool. It's not the answer. People are told it's the answer, so they listen to it. They don't question it, right? And you hit on so many topics there where slavery is still going on to this day. It's just hidden. It's more intelligent. It's used in lingo and political and in government policies and work policies. You're told when your 30-minute break is. You're told when you can go to the washroom. You make a minimum wage you couldn't even afford an apartment with. You couldn't live your life with. You're told when you can go on vacation. You're told what to do with your free time, if you even have free time.
You get served for 4 months.
You get served, right? It's a trap, and we want you guys to start thinking. Not even outside the box, start thinking with the truth, right? And time is a tool. Time is not the answer. And you got to really think about, the fact that your job, you're so confined to the system, to time, that you actually you don't have the energy afterwards to pursue what you love. You're too tired after to pursue what you love because it takes you an hour in traffic to get home, and now you're exhausted. And then you remember you have to hit the gym because you want to stay in shape, because maybe you're looking for a partner in life and you must stay attractive so that when you go out on the weekend, you can find a mate to then just be comfortable with each other, because you're stuck in the system, because you're both stuck in slavery. You're stuck in time. You're stuck in this system. Time is not a bad thing. You just have to start restructuring it and to make sense to build your lifestyle so that you're not controlled by someone else's time. Your value is starting to be God-given worth. It's not worth based on what your employer thinks of you, right? When your quota comes up, because you have to hit all these quotas, which gets me into thinking about the patience that we have today is very thin. The reason we don't like to be patient is because we live in a time of comfort where, go to school. And then, once I go to school, I can just then go to post-grad. And once I go to post-grad, I'll just put in all these thousands of dollars, all these hours, and I'll just get an office job, right? This system is not made to benefit you. It's not made to benefit you. We're here to talk to the listeners here that want to do God-given things, amazing things, Chadwick Boseman type level stuff.
I always tell people that try to own something for yourself. That's not to say go and quit your job. Have something on the side that you're working towards having ownership, because like we say, your time is so limited where you don't want to spend the rest of your life under the scrutiny, under the the micromanaging of someone else who doesn't. First, they don't care about you. They're told by their superiors to manage you in a certain way so that their job is secure, to stay secure. So like working that 9 to 5 is, if you're using that money to build your second passion, you got to do what you got to do, right? Not everyone can just quit and decide, okay, I'm going to be pursuing this, right? So, but work towards something of you having ownership, that where you're pursuing your God-given talents, right? Because eventually you work hard enough at that, you're going to realize that, why am I spending my time over here when I should be doing this thing? And now I have that freedom where it's like I put in the work, I put in the time, I put in the effort, the money, everything, where it's like I'm ready now to take control of my actual things I want to pursue, and now I can let go of that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. But until you actually have that conviction and that realization, you'll forever be stuck, right? And who wants to be stuck doing the same thing for 40 years? Like I found once I owned my own brand, my own business, my outlook on time completely changed, because I was in control of how I wanted to spend my days, my months. I never looked at it like that before. I always looked at it as, that same thing of, fuck, I got to go here because I just got to make some money. And it's like, and actually, I even take that back, because nowadays you could quit your job. If you strongly believe in something, you could quit your job, because nowadays you can get grants. There's different ways of getting loans for pursuing something you actually want to do. People's trying to hide behind saying that, how am I going to get the money to start something? That's a cop-out. Nowadays,
in Canada,
in the States, certain places,
we know, because we do know in the States it's a lot more difficult at times, depending on the state you're in, than in Canada.
Yeah.
You're right, there are opportunities if you care enough to look for them.
Yeah. So, and like I said, you can always reach out to others, and you don't have to just decide, I want to do this by myself. You could reach out to someone and partner up, right? It doesn't always have to be you. If you truly care about pursuing something, you'll find a way. And that's where your true success and your true freedom will come from ownership.
Mm-hmm.
From having your own thing, where someone can't dangle the carrot over you and be like, you're not going to get paid today if you don't do this for me.
Yep, you want your raise.
Yeah.
You want your bonus. You got to hit your quota. Do you want to go up into management? Do you want to go higher up with more responsibility, right? More tasks, more stress.
And how do you tap into your God-given talents without God? How hard is that? Like personally, when you were pursuing something without God?
It's impossible. And that's why Aaron and I are speaking. I can speak from a place where I was working without God, grinding every single day, working my ass off without God. And when you work so hard without meaning in your life, when it's not about serving other people and helping other people, you tend to get stale, you tend to feel down, you want to quit, you look for something that's easier, you fall off your path that God has for you because you're lacking meaning. I grew up in sports and training and grinding and building clients, growing an Instagram following, picking up clients, coaching at a sports-specific gym. I started doing social media consulting, all these different things I was learning. But I lacked meaning because what I was serving for didn't speak to my heart. It didn't speak to what God wanted me to do. So maybe you're in a position right now where you are doing good at something, you are building something good, but you're still tired. You're still drained. You're still looking at the clock like, oh, I got to go here. Oh, I got to go do this. Aaron talked about it when him and I come do this podcast. We don't have that feeling. We're excited. To be honest, we wish we could record an episode every single day and do this the rest of our lives because we have meaning. We're looking to reach people who are looking to change their lives with Christ. Because when you realize even about time, we get into God's timing. We lack patience because we are our idols in today's time. We want to hit certain goals. We want to make this amount of money to give us a validation to go do these certain things or to post on Instagram or to fill our insecurities because we're constantly thinking we're coming from a place of lack. Like we aren't God ordained. We aren't already special and unique. And when you realize you're so special and unique, you can take time with God. No one can mess with that. I take time in my backyard going over things for this podcast, and I'm at peace. I'm so happy because I'm with God going, how does he want me to speak today? What are the topics I want to hit today? To help people get out of the place I was in because it was so destructive. When you come from a place that's without God, you're running on pride. You're running on ego. You're running on false narratives to get somewhere, and time is constantly pushing you. You constantly feel this pressure. I got to wake up at this time. I got to make a post at this time. I got to go train this client. Okay, I got to film this client doing workouts. I got to do my own workouts. Got to film that stuff. Like you're just constantly chasing.
You're a slave to the time.
You're a slave. And we're trying to get out of human doings to human beings. We're no longer appreciating our being. Like how are we feeling in presence in the moment? Are we at peace? Are we at rest in the time we're in now?
Great point.
Right? Are we able to be here right now? When Aaron and I are here, we're not anywhere else. We're so focused because this has meaning in time. We are with God working on this in this message. So for people listening, Aaron made a good point. You have a job right now. Use that job as a leverage to build your thing with God. Because your job that you might not be, you're struggling with, or you don't like it, or you have a hard time people telling you what to do, etc. If you're building your thing on the side, the job is so much easier.
And that day will come when you can when like your side hustle outweighs and outshines your job, where you know that you can quit. And that day will relieve so much stress and anxiety from you, where you could look at those people who tried to dangle the carrot over you and be like, I'm gone. Like there's no more nothing more that gives you more satisfaction than something like that, because you put in the time to build the thing on the side. But if you never do that, you'll forever be trapped. And my thing is this: there's too much emphasis today on this 5-year outlook, this 10-year outlook that people, that society and culture puts on people. Where are you going to be in 5? We see commercials. Plan for your next 5 years, your 10 years, your retirement. Nowadays, they're trying to get people who are in their 20s to think about retirement. Like, how could you don't even know what you're going to be doing next like tomorrow? Some people don't know what they're doing. You think they're going to be able to plan for your retirement? And it's like it's such a contradiction, because these companies that are telling you, let us manage your money to plan for your retirement, these are the same companies that they don't even know what the fuck they're going to be doing with once they get it, they're putting it in so many different areas that benefits them and not you, where it's like, you think they actually care about your future? It's like, I think that a lot of people, they know that their time is limited, but they don't know what they actually want to do with their time.
Mm-hmm. They could be afraid.
Yeah. So
scared.
Do you own your time, or does the clock own you? That's last. When you wake up in the morning, the things that fill your schedule, are those things filling that void that that gives you anxiety and stress? Or is your day filled with things that you enjoy, you love to do? Because that's when the success really comes. Mm-hmm. If you're doing something you don't enjoy, it's short-lived. When you're actually pursuing your passion and you're using your creativity to its fullest, that's when you see real things happen before your eyes. And another thing I wanted to touch on was basically, I know there's a lot of young adults and people like they could be in similar situations to us, where there's certain battles that, there's certain battles that they're going through with people who don't value time in a way that they want to value their time. And that what does that come down to? That comes down to your social circle being able to say no, and being able to say to these people, like, why don't we use our time in a different way, right? Like, you're not going to be able to take ownership of your time the way you want to if the people around you are looking at it from a different perspective, right? Let's say you wanted to, you decided I need to get into shape, right? Because you have that fitness background.
What do you mean? I'm already in shape.
So someone who's just like, like I want to dedicate my time to, getting stronger, getting in good physical shape. But let's say they're used to hanging around with people who, like, they hate going to the gym. Where it's like, like, we don't want to be here. Like, you shouldn't even be doing that. Who cares? You don't need to care about that. That already puts a negative mindset in you, saying that I shouldn't be putting my time there. And that can apply to anything, right? Into your secondary thing that we're talking about, like the secondary thing besides your job that you want to be pursuing, but you're procrastinating because it could be the people around you that are, causing you to be like, yeah, I shouldn't be doing that. Like, let me just go with the boys and chill.
You make a good point, because you're putting your time and energy into so many different places that it makes it very tough to focus, to prioritize your time. You and I talked about how this could be our last day. How are we prioritizing it? Where are we focusing it? If I'm in my environment, we talk about the Holy Spirit. If I'm putting my spirit in all these different places with all these different relationships, wanting to do all these different things, my mind will be all over the place. I'll be thinking, I got to do this. I got to send this email. I got to send this text. I got to get on this phone call. I have to go do this. I'm doing all these things, but am I really getting anything done that I want to do? I had to learn that through when I was growing my fitness business, growing all these things, like you said, going to the gym. It's not that you just disrespect people. You got to go on your own way, go on your own path, start building your own lifestyle. And when you build your own lifestyle with God, God will put other people in place that are going to be with you, and they're going to understand exactly how you do things and why you do them, right? That's how you and I get along. We're independent, we're individuals, right? We do our own things. When we're together, it grows. Things get done because we prioritize our time and see the value that God's given us. So we value everything we do. When we come here, we try our best to bring the most value. So when you guys are thinking about, okay, I'm gonna grow this, how much time am I really, giving it all into, or am I putting all my thoughts and ideas in other places they don't need to be in? You have to really see are you insecure about something? Are you afraid of what your employers will think? Because to be honest, if you're working that 9 to 5, you're working the retail job, you're working it here, you're working at the car auto sales place, wherever you're working, and I'd be honest, keep whatever you're working on to yourself. Don't start spreading it around to people who aren't maybe doing their own thing, because they're going to spread their bitterness and resentfulness, and I don't think that's going to work onto you. Most people aren't winners in this life. We're trying to build winners on this podcast, and we picked the winner. Jesus Christ already won. War is already done. This is why we're Christians, because we pick winners. And we want you guys to build your own thing, because when you build your own thing and you have so much, you're so proud because you see how much work it takes, but the time you spend on it, it's almost like it's not tiring. Because I've been around people when I was in the fitness industry, sports performance industry. I was around somebody who I saw this was their gift, and they were destroying it because they were physically tired, mentally tired, maybe sometimes emotionally drained, but never spiritually drained. They could do it for hours and hours and hours, and that's how I knew I needed to leave. I needed to get out because I'm like, I don't feel that way. I don't have that spiritual drive, that energy where I'm going to keep going. I could be so tired, but I know that time I feel is going to be so much worth it for somebody else. Someone's going to feel an impact about this if I serve the right way. So you have to be really careful, guys. Keep your goals to yourself. Pray with them with God. And God doesn't work in the time frame of the world. Aaron talked about that. God doesn't work in 5 years, 10 years.
He doesn't know what that means. God never invented that.
God can do things in your life in a day you would try to do in 10 years. He can make anything happen. He is eternal. He has all power. He is supernatural. And if you trust in him and stick with him and listen only to him, when you're in your prayer time, when you're reading the word, when you're around other friends who believe in the same things, it's going to instill a fire in you. The voice of God will be stronger with you. He will take anything you want to do in life and elevate it tenfold. He will take it tenfold. Stop listening to people, even in your family, what they think. God knows you. Stick with him. He will take it so far. If you want to be a musician, you want to be a painter. Like a lot of these things, like, yeah, you can get your 9-to-5 suit job, but if you want to be a creator in life, God will take your dream and tenfold it. He doesn't have a time clock.
The only timing that God goes by is before Christ and after Christ. That's all he goes by, right? So when people like to talk about when is Jesus coming back, it's on. First of all, we might think that in our lifetime, whatever how long it is, whether it's 20 years, 40 years, 50, 80 years, that is irrelevant to God, because God's works on his own timing. God's timing is better than mine. It's better than your timing, right? And I strongly believe that people need to, understand that and ask themselves, do I own my own time, or does my time own me, right? Once you understand that, you'll understand how much freedom means to your own success and your own personal joy. Because freedom is something that culture puts an emphasis on, that you have to earn. You have to earn your own freedom, right? And in a way, it is true, because you have to get to that level, to that point where it's like you can control your own day. You got to work for it, right? It's not, can't just wake up. Well, certain people in certain situations, they're born with that, where it's like they have a family that can just, provide them money, where they don't have to work. But if you come from a background where you need to provide for yourself, that freedom, you must earn it. You gotta work for it, God says himself, he says, hard workers get rich. He says that. He said, lazy people get poor. So he knows that, like, that's a fundamental, that's basics. But with that said, the freedom that you're going to create for yourself, coming from your secondary passion, or your secondary business, that freedom is going to mean so much to you once you finally get it, that like it's indescribable. Because then once you get that freedom, and you can decide, today I'm going to be working on this, today I'm going to be doing this for my business, I'm going to be working with this person. That ultimate, that feeling is something that money can't buy, because the freedom is the time that you decide what you want to do with it. There's no price on that, There's nothing that your boss can say there's no promotion that's better than that, So it's like, I can speak from my own perspective, from my own personal situation, because until I was the owner of my own thing, I didn't have that gift, that ability. And it's like, once you experience that, you don't ever want to go back to working for somebody.
You never want to go back.
I can never go back to someone telling me what they want me to do with my life. It's impossible. I'd literally rather die than someone telling me,
you realize
do
you were
this.
a slave. You realized before you were a slave.
And you realize your worth, right? You realize that the money I can make is going to be coming from what I'm going to be doing, not from what you're going to be saying that, if you do this, you might get a bonus, No one could ever dangle a carrot over me, right? Mm-hmm. And that you can only get to that level after you what? Because like I said in the Uncut Gems episode, if I didn't ask God for that blessing of like take me out of this gambling addiction, I wouldn't have got that idea from him. Mm-hmm. So God is in that conversation, right? And that's why when this podcast, right, it's something where it doesn't even feel like this is something that me and you, we have these conversations all the time. This is natural. It's organic,
Mm-hmm.
Now the only difference is that now we have mics and cameras.
Yeah.
These conversations we've been having for years, right? And
eventually we'll get makeup. Hey, do some makeup for the
So it's like, I want this thing to be inspiring for other people, to have that secondary thing in the background, that thing you think about. I know you know what I'm talking about. People listening, whether you're driving, whether you're watching us on YouTube, I know there's something in the back of your mind that you've always wanted to do. You just never had that's God speaking to you, right? If it's on your mind, it's on God's heart. We know that, you know? So tap into it, you know? It's never too late. You can, whatever age you are, have that secondary thing where you're working towards that ownership. Because I'm telling you, that's the greatest blessing. That's the most happy you'll ever be. Knowing that, you know, I'm pursuing this in God's name and I have my freedom.
Amen. And you're right about that. It'll take, I don't want you guys to be confused or mistaken that once you start a relationship with God, he'll just bless you with all these things without the hard work, without the discipline, without the patience, without the fortitude, without the failure. Mixing some failure with it.
Emphasis on that.
Yeah, mixing some failure with some failure. You need to accept it, because once you start your own business, you realize how much harder it is than it is just to go to work and someone tells you what to do. Because now you have to wake yourself up. You have to do in the work. You have to put in the marketing, the planning, the dollars, right? So starting your own business is a starting of your freedom, building your own ideas, knowing who am I? Who am I really? What do I believe in? Do I just say yes all the time? Will I start saying no because I'm working on something? And you have to be very careful who you share your information with, who you talk with, who you spend your time with. Because people are going to be out here trying to distract you. The devil distracts. He steals, kills, and destroys. He doesn't want you to prosper with God. He doesn't want you to help other people to get closer to God. Because God's the answer, and God's going to be the answer to your prayers. What Aaron said, you're thinking about something. You've been thinking about it since you were a little kid, since you were young. This dream, this passion, this curiosity that God instilled in you, right? What you believe in, what you want's already been in you since your creation. You didn't have to think about it. So start working with God, because it'll build that work ethic. It'll build, because once you realize you're serving others, you have meaning, you'll never want to quit. You'll never want to stop. So maybe you have to quit what you're doing right now if you know it's not your God-given purpose. I did.
You know the beautiful thing about the word quitting? What do you do after you quit? You start something. You can't start something sometimes. Sometimes you can't start something without quitting.
Yep.
If you don't have to quit and you can still start, like based on people's schedules, you know, some people might have kids where now it's very hard. Imagine having a 9 to 5, you have the kids to take care of, and you want to pursue your secondary hobby. So everyone's circumstance is obviously different, right?
Yep.
But with that said, you can always work towards something, right? With time management.
Yes, and you can never. God can destroy any kind of circumstance that's tough in your life right now. God can take that and make it into something big. I was building something and growing something. I had to quit, and I don't like quitting because I had a lot of pride, a lot of ego, a lot of identity in what I was doing. So maybe you guys are struggling with that. You're afraid to quit because you don't want to be a quitter. I told people that. I don't want to quit. I'm not a quitter. I'm going to figure it out. But until I was able to humble myself and let go and quit and start something new, take a different direction, maybe feel a bit like a failure, like a loser. When you realize you're riding with God, there's no losing. You quit, you can move on to something else, build something that you actually care about. When you wake up, you're not like, oh, I don't want to get up. You wake up, you're like, I'm so grateful I get to wake up and do this.
You know the thing about tough days, though, because I can speak on this from experience. There's obviously days where, like, you know, no matter what you do, you don't want to be doing it. But when you own something yourself, those days where, like, you don't want to do something, you know those are the days that, guess what? That whatever you do that day, that revenue or that profit is still going to you. Compare that to having a shit day when you're working for somebody. You're like, fuck, like I'm gonna go take shit from somebody. The thing about when you own something, no one's talking down to you, right? The only thoughts that are in your head are from what you're, you know, from the energy you're putting out there. Mm-hmm. So like the battles are a lot different, and it's like I would say that they're less mentally challenging because a lot of people they're in work environments that they hate being in. You know, they hate their coworkers. They hate this manager, you know, telling them what to do. Like, they can't stand it. When you own your own thing, you don't have those challenges now. The challenges that you're facing are going to be like different things of like from a clothing perspective of like a supplier issue, a shipping issue. Like these are not like people.
Mm-hmm.
These are problems that are easily solvable based on you doing something. Because you can't change people's personalities. If someone hates you in a workplace, like I'm sorry to say, you're stuck. Like you're gonna be arguing with that person. If a manager doesn't like you, like good luck. Like what are you gonna do until you quit? You're forever gonna be in that position. So like the benefits always outweigh the struggles when you have ownership. And I can't stress it enough that work towards that and go there with God. That's it.
And you're so very right, because now your focus is away from the problems at work. And the problems on your business are always going to benefit you, so you'll do them. You're always going to want to do them. Oh, yeah, this benefits me. Like, I want to get out of this job that I don't like. This is going to benefit me, right? Like, I had to start thinking like that because I was in jobs at places that the same thing. I dread going in, don't like the people you're around, negative energy. You realize when you look at people who are older than you, if you stay there, that's going to be you in 10, 20 years. If someone's negative and bitter and grumpy at a job place, it's because they decided not to follow their passions, their purpose. They're not pursuing meaning. They have no meaning. They think life is meaningless. You're going to be around a lot of people that think life is meaningless. They just want to use, consume, and be comfortable. You have to steer clear of those people. Those aren't the kind of people you have good conversations with. They're not the kind of people that are going to be fist bumping you when you're pursuing your own business, because they're going to be bitter about it, because they're not doing anything. And then they're going to try to bring you down to their level. When you love your life and you're doing great things, you love to uplift people. You love to bring them up. Do good things. If people are being negative to you, it's because they're trying to bring you down to their level. Just realize that. If you're in your life and you're in your process, you're in your process with God, you're getting a lot of hate, a lot of negativity, a lot of distractions, a lot of not things that are inspiring you to continue what you're doing. That's just the devil trying to bring you down. Once you're with God, Aaron and I know this, we start doing this podcast, the more attacks you get when you're doing things with God, the devil will try to bring you down even further, because he doesn't want to spread good things. He doesn't want to spread love, kindness, peace, love. He doesn't want to spread these things. He's trying to kill, steal, and destroy. So if you guys are pursuing something good, something kind and with you, there's going to be, life doesn't just like, oh, now it's all better. It's like, no, there's going to be more struggles. The devil's going to try to get at you a little bit more. I know I'm getting into the spiritual warfare here a bit, but you have to be careful of that. I said before, your closest friends could be your closest enemies, disguising themselves as something good, when really they're kind of bitter that you're growing. They're upset you're growing. So when you're growing in your life, be careful. Like Aaron said, he can decide who he spends his time with now. When you have to answer that text you're anxious about, you're like, oh, I don't want to go hang out with that guy. I know how I feel when I talk to that guy. I'll make up an excuse. Now you have to lie because you want to see that guy.
Blood-sucking vampires.
Yes.
They're sucking the life out of you. You know, they're sucking like your creativity out of you. There's a lot of people out there. We all know these people that, they like you around because it self-serves them. Like there could be nothing that you're even benefiting from, a friendship both ways, but all you're doing is just killing the time with each other. You're just shooting the shit or just doing things that you're so used to doing it with this person, and it feels like it's ingrained, and this is life. You might think like, this is what my weekends are about, and that's when we want that perspective shift. If you're not going to be hearing it from people like us, we hope that you're hearing it from the people you're watching on YouTube, or there's other people you follow on Instagram. You need these type of people who are motivating you to change your outlook and your perspective, or else it's going to be like quicksand in your life. It's going to be stuck. You're just going to be sinking deeper into either addictions, different situations that you wish you weren't a part of. Mistakes happen. Like we know a friend personally, right? He's constantly chasing something, getting into a lot more drinking. And it's like we're seeing that before our eyes, and we're trying to help that person get out of it. But no one's going to help you as much as you help yourself. So like that's what it comes down to, the decision making, and who are you walking your journey with. One thing I wanted to touch on about time is, don't feel the need to have to prove yourself to anybody or prove something to yourself within a short period of time, or like putting the time limit on your expectations of what you're pursuing. So what do I mean by that? I mean, even for this podcast, I can't sit here and say, you know, in a year from now, I want to be sponsored. I want to be on Spotify. I want to have a Spotify deal, or I want to have this. Those type of things that, like, it's good to have goals, but it's another thing to put those limits on you that can hinder your development. Because those type of expectations you put on yourself can lead you on paths where, you know, now you're having to compromise certain things, you're having to chase certain things, you're having to rush the process, you know?
That's a very good point.
Like when I was doing my thing, I never said, you know, in 5 months from now, I want to have this amount of money. I want to have this in sales. I never said that. I just let it grow organically. That's how everything grows organically in the way it's supposed to. Because nowadays people will tell you, like, oh, you didn't achieve this by this age, you're not successful. Or your business, you know, it's taking too long. People have to remember, how long did it take Apple to get to where they are? The biggest companies, Phil Knight, Nike. There's so many examples of, you know, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, like when he was sitting in his dumpy little office, and now look where it is today. So there's no timeline for success. Like, it doesn't exist of, you know, you have to be here in 5 years or 3 years. You know, let it happen naturally. You know,
Amen.
Don't force things,
because that's the success. When you're able to trust God and let go of your, like you said, limited numbers, limited structures, you're already successful because you know who's going to take it farther. You and I know this podcast is going to ride with God. He'll take this to places you and I couldn't do without him. We'd have all these numbers, by this. We need this amount of numbers, this amount of subscribers, this amount of streams. We got to have this by this time. We got to release this by then. This guy's
just
doing...
give me anxiety you saying
right?
that. Yeah.
This guy's doing this. Look what these guys are doing. What about this? We got to try this. You're constantly compromising your moral compass, your values, because you're comparing yourself to the culture.
And it forces you to change your identity.
Change your identity because, that's cool, bro. Let's do this.
It's like this. Imagine our podcast, like someone reached out to us, like Trojan or something. You start promoting our thing, and we're like, okay, we'll take it. Yeah. Now we have an ad for this. Like, you're compromised already.
Yeah.
But that's what people do. Right? We laugh about it, but like, how many times do we see people, like, their business was one thing, and then it totally transitioned to something that's like, you know, like,
not
completely
what they
goes
wanted.
Against like the values of what they began something in the first place. And all you can do is sit back and laugh, but, you know, focus on your own thing, and it's gonna go where it needs to go. If you put in the work, you put in the time, you have the right team around you, it's gonna go where it needs to go.
And you guys listening are on the right path right now because you're wanting to take that personal responsibility and accountability for your life. You're no longer gonna look to other people, to your employer or whatever, to make those decisions you need to make for yourself. Aaron and I take personal responsibility and accountability for our work, for our efforts, things that we do. We know that it's on us. God asks us to do things, wants us to do things. We serve the Lord. And then we're able to be even stronger in the work we do because we're accessing the almighty power of the Heavenly Father. And I'll be honest, I'm at a time right now, I'm a bit sad. I'm a bit, I talked about before how, the dog I've had for a long time is dying. I'm looking and watching her die she's got a tumor in her leg, tumor in her lungs. And I hear her crying at night, not being able to sleep. And I'm looking at the time frame of just, I know how much time she has left in her life and how sad that is. And being in that perspective and seeing the life an animal lives in being, in presence, in love, I want listeners, for you guys to start doing that as well. The time that you do have as well when you're growing your business, like the love you carry in your work. Don't become numb to the world, into the fickle things of materials to satisfy your needs, to validate you, because it won't. You'll grow up very alone. You'll grow up very sad. You'll grow up very bitter. We want to build connections. Aaron and I want to build fruitful relationships in our work that help people. So value the time you have. Value it with love in the work you do, serving others. And if you love your work, if you love what you're going to do in your time, you're going to love other people in it. You're going to want the best for people and the best for yourself. So get out of the algorithm and into God. You're going to read something for us, Aaron.
Yeah, so the verse of the day.
The verse of the day.
So this is 1 John chapter 4, verses 4 to 5. And he goes, "You are from God, little children, and you have conquered them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. They are from the world, therefore what they say is from the world, and the world listens to them." So what does that mean? This means that the one who's in you, the Holy Spirit, that God, that relationship that you have with God, is greater than anybody who's in the world telling you what you're meant to do, what you should be doing. Nobody in this world can tell you what you're meant to do more than that little voice in you that knows what you want to be doing, what you should be pursuing. I don't care who it is. There's no teacher, there's no instructor, there's no manager, there's no vice president, there's no owner. Me, myself, I can't look at you and say, because based on what I see you doing or your skill set, you should be doing you should be doing this. You have to be doing this. No one can tell you what to do but the voice inside of you.
Amen.
And you know your calling. And that voice is the Holy Spirit.
Amen. Thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll talk soon, guys. God bless. Love you all.
Peace.